Jackson to talk about his bills. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Dr. Corey Jackson of the 60th Assembly District. It's important to understand that in our efforts to right the wrongs of California's past atrocities and racist policies that have oppressed black people socially and economically since the inception of this state, we are presenting reparations in all areas of our civil society that represents more than just cash payments. But why must we do this? We must do this because, number one, we have to understand that in order to do some of the most innovative and some of the most targeted reparations legislation, we must first clear the path of any legal barriers that exist within our Constitution. One of the chief among those is Proposition 209, the 1996 law that raised a legal barrier that does not allow us to help people of color because they are simply people of color. We have to understand that the era of the colorblind society is a failure. If you can't see us, you can't serve us. Why? Because all of the research shows that the best way to serve any group of people who have a common ailment, who have a common issue that they must address, that you must approach them and you must work with them in their own cultural context. Because even the most well-meaning interventions can actually do more harm if they are not done in the cultural context in which the people find themselves. Therefore, ACA7 would allow for the approval of Proposition to allow us to sidestep Prop 209 by focusing on some of the most pressing issues that are facing people of color. For instance, there are many people of color, specific community, who are ravaged by issues of diabetes, of obesity, of high blood pressure, of poverty. If we are prohibited from addressing these issues from the cultural context of the people who are facing these things, then we cannot make the meaningful progress that we are trying to make. Therefore, we are seeking to revise or amend Prop 209 to ensure that we can increase the life expectancy of some of our most marginalized and oppressed populations, that we can lift people out of poverty, which California created policies and structures to ensure that certain people are in poverty, and to finally deal with, in a targeted and more meaningful way, the gross and despicable issues facing black students when it comes to their educational achievement. ACA7 is an opportunity to make sure that California no longer has to look past proven ways to help communities facing the greatest inequities in health outcomes, education, and poverty rates. We also have a part of our reparations package, ACA8, that is authored by our chair, Assemblymember Wilson. ACA7 would remove the exception of involuntary servitude from our state constitution and declare that all forms of slavery is prohibited. Californians must understand that the Golden State allows for slavery to happen today. Today, slavery takes on the modern form of involuntary servitude, including forced labor in prisons. Slavery is wrong in all of its forms, and California should be clear in denouncing that in the Constitution. This is good. I wish I wrote this. California is among only 16 states with an exception clause for involuntary servitude in its state constitution. Most recently, voters in Alabama, Oregon, Tennessee, and Vermont removed involuntary servitude language from their state constitutions. California is not leading the way. Incarcerated people have long faced crucial treatment for any work absences. This includes physical violence, solitary confinement, denial of phone calls and family visits, and limiting participation in self-help groups and disciplinary write-ups that result in longer prison terms. Such punishments or threats of such punishments are often used even when absences are due to illness or injuries sustained through the work. This sounds like the instances that our ancestors faced on those tobacco and on those cotton fields. The legacy of slavery and forced labor runs deep in California's history, from the exploitation of indigenous people in Spanish missions to black slaves forced to mine for gold. We have the opportunity to take a step in the direction towards ending that legacy. And now it's my great honor to bring up Senator Stephen Bradford.